Daf Kuf Lamed Dalet Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the top of the 2 dots. Masechet Shabbat Tan Rabban. Devarim shein oisin lamila b'Shabbos oisin lo b'Yom. Certain things that you cannot do for the meal on Shabbos, but you could do them on Yom Tov. For example, sheikhakin lo kumen. You're allowed to crush the kumen. V'tarfin lo yain v'shemen, and you can beat together, mix together the yain and shemen, the wine and the oil, and mix it together. And you're allowed to do that on Yom Tov, even though you're not allowed to do it on Shabbos, but you're allowed to do it on Yom Tov. Why do we say uncommon that it's mutter? Why is it mutter on Yom Tov, not on Shabbos? Because it's a spice. You can use it for food. So therefore, it can be used in a normal way on Yom Tov. You're allowed to use it for cooking, so therefore you're allowed to use it and crush it for the milah. Eichel nefesh is mutter on Yom Tov, not on Shabbos. Yain v'shemen chazi nami b'Shabbos l'choila. But yain and shemen is also mutter for a choila. Even a choila shein by sakana, it's still mutter to mix together the wine and the oil. So therefore, it should be mutter for the milah as well. The sign we learned in the Brisa, ein terfin yain v'shemen l'choila b'Shabbos. The Tanakama says you are not allowed to mix together, to beat together, to mix it, the yain and shemen v'chol and Shabbos. Amar Rabbi Shimon Elazar b'Shum Rav Meir. He says no. After yain v'shemen, you could mix it together vigorously, the yain and shemen. Amar Rabbi Shimon Elazar. Pam achas chas Rav Meir b'Meir. He had pain in his stomach, in his intestines. And they wanted to mix for him the yain v'shemen to be a refuah for him. And he did not let them do it. So we said to him, should your sheet of your words, should it be nullified in your lifetime? You hold that it's mutter. He said to us, even though I argue with my chaver, and I say it's mutter, but I still maintain that it's mutter, and it's mutter for you. But I never went against my friends, and for me personally, I never went against what my chaverim said. So who knew the machman nafshe? It's only him that he was machman himself not to be over al divrei chaver. Aval kuli alma shori. The kuli alma Rav Meir holds it's mutter. It's not Mishnah's Rav Meir. So why should it be also in our Mishnah? Rav Meir himself holds that on Shabbos it is mutter to mix together the wine and the oil. The Gemara answers Hasan loy ba'alecha acha ba'alecha. When we're saying over there in the Brisa that it was mutter, where it doesn't have to be mixed together so vigorously. It doesn't require it to be mamish blended together. So over there we say, if you just mix it, having it mixed together lightly, then if it's beneficial, he permits you to do that. And hacha ba'alecha. Here in our Mishnah where we answered it in the case for the milah, is where it means mixing it vigorously. Over there, that's where we answer it. But in Hanami, to do it in a way where he's not doing it in a strong way, it's mutter. So why should it be also? Why does the Mishnah say that it's also for the milah? Do it and don't do it without lechem. Do it without mixing it vigorously. My answer is Hainu Diktani. Yes, it is mutter. Hainu Diktani. That's what the Mishnah means. It says you can't mix it together in a vigorous way, but you can put each one separately into the bowl and it gets mixed in the mela. So it is mutter in that manner. We learned in the Brisa, you can't strain mustard seeds in a strainer on Yom Tov. By Marake, straining, sifting is a malacha. And by putting mustard seeds in there, you're separating the seeds from the husk. So it's also to do it on Yom Tov. So we'll see shortly in the Gemara, we'll have a discussion. Eichel nefesh is mutter on Yom Tov, so what's the problem? So we'll see. And you can't sweeten it by putting a burning coal inside of it. You can't. They used to take a mound of mustard seeds, put in a burning coal, and that would sweeten it. So he says that these things are also on Yom Tov. What's the difference between that and the not that we learned in the Mishnah? You can put a raw egg in a strainer, a mustard strainer, even on Shabbos. So certainly you should be able to do it on the Yom Tov. Over there, it doesn't look like separating. But over here, by the mustard seed, it does. So Tosfos explains, because over there, by the egg, separating the egg white from the egg yolk, both components are roi la'achila. They're both edible. They're both food, so it doesn't look like separating, like straining, like being boyer. But over here, the seed is edible, not the husk, so it's mechsek boyer. You can't sweeten it with a burning coal. It says in the Brisa that it's mutter. The Gemara like kasha can be shel matches, can be shel eitz. It makes a difference if the coal is metal or it's over wood. If it's burning metal, so metal, even though by putting it in it's going to be extinguished, it doesn't make a coal. But by the wood, it makes a coal, and making the coal is by being machabe, by making the coal. That's where you would have the malacha. You're creating the coal. So therefore, the iser is only by the gachelos of eitz and not by the gachelos of matches. Well, what's the difference between roasting meat on a coal? Also, it's going to extinguish the coal. The juices from the meat is going to put out the fire and going to now being mechaber, make a coal. What's the difference? That's mutter on Yom Tov. Here's the Nakuda, the main point of the Gemara that revolves around this following point. Even though it's Yom Tov and Yom Tov is mutter b'achol nefesh, but the Rabbanan Aser, it's something that could have been done the day before, is Aser. So by the case of the roasted meat, you can't roast it. Now, certainly you could roast the meat before Yom Tov, but to have the fresh roasted meat, you can't do that before Yom Tov. It loses something in the taste by doing that beforehand. So to have the fresh roasted meat, it has to be done on Yom Tov. So therefore, extinguishing the coal is part and parcel of that. It's mutter. But in the cases that we were discussing before, by sweetening the chardal, that can be done before Yom Tov. It's not going to lose any of the taste or the sweetness by doing it before Yom Tov. So since it could have been done before Yom Tov, the Rabbanan asked you to do it on Yom Tov. What about making cheese on Yom Tov? Is it mutter to make cheese on Yom Tov? He says it's also. Where you're allowed to knead dough to bake the bread on Yom Tov. What's the difference? What's the difference between kneading the dough and between the gammon to make the cheese? So why should that be any difference? The making the cheese also is like kneading. It looks like kneading. Again, this same type of chiluk, that fresh bread has to be done on Yom Tov. If it's a day old, it's not the same taste. By cheese, it could have been done before Yom Tov. What do you mean? It's now, how does say that fresh cheese made that day is better? So it's the same type of, you can bake the bread before Yom Tov, but it's fresher, it's better on Yom Tov. So it's the same thing by cheese. No, it doesn't mean that it's dafka better on that day. It means even if it's not aged, it's still very good. But certainly if it's aged, it's good. So the cheese could have been made before. So therefore, we're not matir the Rabbanan Aser doing it on Yom Tov if you could have done it beforehand. There's a machlokes rishonim. Does this apply only by machshirei ochel nefesh, or does it apply even by ochel nefesh itself, even by cooking and actually doing the preparation of the food itself? The Ritva says that the iser is midaraisa is only by machshirim, not by ochel nefesh itself, and all this is a drabanan diki yisurim. But Rashi is mashma that it applies even to mamash oichal nefesh. If it could have been done the day before, then just as well, then you can't do it. It's also to do it on Yom Tov. Any nice malacholog for the milah, you don't make a bandage around the aver. Amra by Amalihim. So he said, the one who raised him said, He said that the bandage that it has, that you have for the milah for the child, so you should fold it over upwards. The loy midbig garda mine, because on the underside of it has threads, loose threads hanging, sticking out. It might stick to the wound of the tinuk, and we're afraid dimla midbig garda mine, maybe it will stick, and and it will pull at the aver and harm the child and make him the kroshivcha. She would make a lining on the lower half of it so that to protect the aver, so nothing will get, no threads will get stuck. If it doesn't have this cholok, take a rag that has a hem, tie it around the bottom away from the makeh, and turn over the hem and turn it upwards and turn it over in a similar fashion like we mentioned before, so that it does not get stuck to the wound. A child that the anus is, you cannot determine where the anus is, so it has to be opened so that the child can relieve itself. Now rub it with oil and put it up against the sun, where it seems clear, so you see that you know that that's where there's an opening. It's just covered with a membrane. Tear it open with a barley seed on lengthwise and widthwise, and tear it that way, and therefore you'll be able to open up the makam and it'll be able to relieve itself. But don't use a metal kli, mishum dezara, because it might cause an infection. If there's a child that's not able to nurse, what's the reason? Make who the karpume? It's because its mouth is cold. What's the remedy? Laisa kasa gumra. Bring a cup of burning coals with a puma, put it near the child's mouth. The chaim puma, his mouth will become warm, and then he'll be able to nurse. If you have a child that's not able to breathe, fan it with a fan, he'll be able to breathe. The baby that's not able to breathe, bring the mother's afterbirth and rub it over it and bring it over it and it'll be able to breathe. Of course, we don't mean here that it's not be able to breathe at all. I mean, it has difficulty breathing. And if you have a child that's unhealthily small, bring the mother's afterbirth and rub it over it, slide over the body from the narrow end to the wide end. And therefore, that'll be a skula for it, and it'll grow. It'll become wider, it'll become bigger, it'll grow. But if it's the opposite, if it's olim, it's too large, it's bloated, slide it over the other way, the opposite way, and it's a skula that it will get smaller. If there's a child, a baby who's red, that means, what's the reason for that? The blood has not yet been absorbed into the flesh. So what should you do? What's the just wait until the blood gets absorbed into the flesh, then don't mal it right away, you have to wait. The orak, if it's green, if it's jaundiced, it's because there's not enough blood. There's a blood deficiency. So therefore, and then wait, and you have to wait until the jaundice disappears, it has a redness, the normal redness, and then malam. And this is, of course, what is not so uncommon, that there is jaundice, baby is yellow, and they have to wait for the bris. The son Yamar ibn Asan Pamachas Allah Lekachaya Uvasisha Lafane, he went one time to the town by the seas, and a woman came before him. Shemala ben Arishan Amaze, she mauled the first child and he died. Sheni Umaze, the second Amaze, Shlichi Lafane, she brought the third child, Reisiv Shu Adam, and I saw that he was red. Amarti lo hamtini achi balaboy damai. So he said he told her, wait until the blood gets absorbed into the flesh. And himtina lo yachin balaboy damai. That's what she did. She waited umalois and then she mauled him v'chayim. And he lived. He survived. Ayokarim oisa nosan abava al shmi. And it's a cause of toiv that he gave the seit. So they called the child nosan abava, and they called him after him. Shuv hamachas alach lemedinas kaputki. He said another time he went to the Medina of Kaputkia, Uvas, Ishachas Lafana, Shamal ben Arishan Meis, Shimal, the first child, and he died. Sheni Mason, second he died. Shlishi Yavel Lafanai, and Reisiv Shu York. And I saw that he was green, he was yellow, he was jaundiced. Amarti lo, Hamtini lo, Achi Paboidom. So he said to her, wait until that he has more blood, that he has an increase in his blood flow. Vimtina lo, and she waited for him, and she mauled him, and he lived. And he was similarly called Nosan Abavli. They called him after Nosan Abavli as a Karasatayv.